In 2008, the highest paid actor in Iron Man wasn't Robert Downey Jr. It was, actually Terrence Howard. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we are unpacking the chaotic, behind-the-scenes survival story of Marvel's War Machine, James Rhodes, and his upcoming solo project, Armor Wars. Okay, let's unpack this. How exactly did a supporting sidekick become a central figure in a massive studio pivot?
Well, the foundation of Rhodey's journey is really defined by constant turbulence, He has been a fixture in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since day one, but his real-world production timeline is just as messy and battle-tested as his on-screen arcs.
Oh, definitely. If you're a longtime MCU fan, you probably remember the whiplash of watching Iron Man 2 and seeing Don Cheadle, suddenly occupying the role. The source materials note that Howard was actually offered a massive 50 to 80% pay cut for the sequel.
Right, which is just a staggering drop.
It really is. I mean, it's like a band replacing its lead singer right after their debut album goes platinum, but everyone on stage just pretends not to notice.
Yeah, they just keep playing the song. And the burden shifted onto Cheadle almost instantly. And it wasn't just a metaphorical weight either. He actually had to wear a practical 50-pound metal suit on set.
Wait, a real 50-pound suit?
Yes, exactly. The mobility was so restricted he couldn't even touch his own face during filming.
Wow, that sounds awful. But it is incredibly fitting, considering how that off-screen physical toll perfectly mirrors his on-screen trauma. We all know what happens in Civil War when he is paralyzed by vision. Rhodey is constantly forced into these heavy, mechanical confines just to survive.
What's fascinating here is how that theme of survival extends to his solo project, Armor Wars, because the development of this project swung violently. Back in 2020, Armor Wars was announced as a 6-episode Disney Plus series, mainly dealing with the fallout of Tony Stark's death.
Right, with Yesser Lester as the head writer, I think.
Exactly, yeah, operating under the working title Rigatoni. But then, in September 2022, Marvel abruptly threw out the television format entirely to retool it as a theatrical film.
I have to push back on the logic there, honestly. How do you take 6 hours of television? 6 hours designed to let the emotional weight of Stark's death actually breathe and condense it into a 2-hour movie without gutting the heart of the story.
Honestly, outside of Marvel's executive suite, nobody really knows exactly how they plan to compress that narrative without losing the emotional core. But mechanically, this kind of pivot usually comes down to visual effects budgets and pacing.
Ah, right, because of all the armored suits.
Yeah, a television show centered entirely around flying metal armors requires an astronomical VFX budget spread across 6 hours. So, condensing it into a 2-hour theatrical window allows the studio to concentrate those resources. It potentially avoids the pacing issues that sometimes drag down a serialized writer's room.
I guess that concentration of resources makes sense when you're managing a massive franchise. But speaking of managing this IP, when you search our stack of sources for War Machine, you actually get a bizarre collision of 2 totally different worlds.
Oh, you're talking about the 2017 Netflix film starring Brad Pitt, which is also titled War Machine.
Yes, exactly.
Our sources highlight its critically acclaimed score by Nick Cave and Warren Ellis. It actually earned a solid 9 out of 10.
Which is great, but it's completely disconnected from the MCU timeline. Though encountering it in the sources highlights an interesting contrast for us. The Netflix film is a sharp satire about military hubris.
Right, it has a totally different tone.
Yeah, and it throws into stark relief how aggressive and militaristic the War Machine superhero moniker actually is when you really stop and think about it.
It is intense, and it's a label that the MCU itself struggled with internally. Remember in Iron Man 3 when the U.S. government rebranded him as Iron Patriot?
Oh, right, the red, white, and blue paint job.
Exactly. They slapped that paint on the armor specifically because the name War Machine tested poorly with their in-universe focus groups. It acts as a brilliant piece of meta-commentary on public relations.
So what does this all mean for you as a viewer? Whether it's recast actors, extreme script retooling, or focus group superhero names, Rhodey's entire existence is defined by adaptation.
Yeah, the behind-the-scenes franchise battles constantly bleed into the narrative.
They really do. Which brings us to one final, deeply unsettling detail from the sources.
Right, the Skrull reveal. In the series Secret Invasion, the narrative reveals that a shape-shifting Skrull named Rava hijacked Rhodes' identity and held him prisoner.
And since Marvel is clearly willing to completely rewrite Armor Wars midstream and upend Rhodey's history, it leaves you with a very dark thought to chew on.
It really recontextualizes everything.
It does. Was the James Rhodes we saw tragically paralyzed in Civil War even the real James?